Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your mental health hookup with Barbara Wilson, and I'm your host, Jason Downs. This is a special broadcast here at KHTS, your hometown station, because mental health is important to us, and we believe it should be important to everyone here in Santa Clarita. Mental Health Hookup is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing clinical support to families affected by serious mental illness here in the Santa Clarita Valley and beyond. They are all about help and healing. So, whatever mental health services you may need, Mental Health Hookup can provide. Or they can hook you up with someone who can. So, when it comes to adult mental health in the Santa Clarita Valley, Mental Health Hookup is your best resource. So, whether you want to talk to someone in person or over the phone, which we absolutely invite you to do today by calling 661 298 5487, and our wonderful engineer, Patty, will screen your calls. Obviously, we expect you to be courteous and kind, but we have Barbara Wilson here with us in the studio today, and she is eager to answer any questions or concerns that you may have, any experiences you're going through at the moment. And so we do welcome that during this hour. You can call 661 298 5487 to speak to Barbara. She has been a licensed clinical social worker for over 50 years here in California, and she has been serving the people of this community for a very, very long time. So whether you want to talk to someone in person or over the phone, they can provide confidential assistance in whatever mental health services you need. Mental health hookup. So, Barbara, it is always an honor to be in your presence and always a pleasure to have a great conversation with you. How are you today?
I'm good, and thank you so much for taking this valuable space and creating an opportunity for people who are struggling and may not really feel like they have a mental health issue, um, but they're worried. And so that's really why I wanted to come on the show to talk about people being worried. We're worried, so I read about it in the popular literature, newspapers. You know, I don't get to watch much television, but I just feel like it's a buzz in the air that is all about we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, and no one else seems to know what's going to happen. And are the schools going to open on time? Do I rush out and buy those jeans that my kids have been bugging me to get, or those tennis shoes that cost more than I want to pay or I think I ought to pay? Are they even going to get to wear them, or is the kid going to outgrow them before they get to wear them because we don't know what's going to happen in the schools? If we start the schools, are they going to close again? There's all this like rampant uncertainty that's going
Anxiety.
on. It is anxiety, and another word for anxiety is fear. And I like to point that out to people is that when you're feeling anxious, it's fear. And so when we look at, I like to help people to figure out what is your worst fear? What's your worst
Is
fear?
that a mental illness? I mean, is that technically, is anxiety and fear,
Anxiety, we have this
or
Bible.
when does it become mental, illness? At
Well,
what
we
level?
have, that's a good question. And then it gets to be about a continuum. So somebody might be a little bit anxious if they're taking a very important examination, let's say. They want to get into medical school or their SATs or something, and so they're anxious about how am I going to do. That's reasonable. It goes away. But if for what we're dealing with currently is kind of a group contagion of fear that's rampant in the whole fabric of our culture, globally, nationally, locally, everything, everywhere you look, people are like, "Oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen next. Do I go right? Do I go left? Do I just sit and don't do anything? I'm afraid." And who can give me answers? Well, we're not sure where to get answers from. Some of the information is conflicting. Some people say right, turn right. Other people say no, don't turn right, turn left. And then, so people are like, well, what's the right answer? I was just,
Well, they could certainly start by talking to someone like you. They
yeah,
can
that's true.
contact Mental Health Hookup and speak to you, and you can point them in the right direction. Somebody with 50 years experience can point them in the right direction anyhow, whether it's therapy with you or some other service. How can folks get in touch with you at Mental Health Hookup?
Well, they certainly can call our main number, which is area code 661-799-7994. And
661-799-7994. Now today you are encouraging people to call in
I
today.
am very much hoping that people will take the plunge. This is not about admitting that you have a mental illness. This is just to have a conversation to say, when I go to bed at night, I can't sleep well because I'm thinking. I'm busy thinking about tomorrow and what am I going to do? What should I be able to do? I was just talking to a mother earlier this morning, actually, and she said, I just don't know. I feel like I'm playing Russian roulette with my kid, and I don't want to do that. I want to know for sure. Do I let him go to school or do I not let him go to school? Should I quit my job and just homeschool for a year? I'm not really a teacher, but I do want him to be alive at the end of the year.
Hmm.
So there's all of that. This is a horrible time to be a parent, quite
No, yeah,
truthfully.
that is a tremendous amount of anxiety, and I have two kids myself, and that's obviously priority number one
That's
is to
right.
look
That's
out
right.
for their safety. And what do you do during this very uncertain time? Uh, I mean, I personally got my kids vaccinated, and we take precautions, and we've decided that they are better off in school for their mental well-being as well. I
Mhm.
mean, this has been a long year and a half for our
Yes, it
kids,
has been.
to be deprived of that social interaction that's important to their health and growth. Uh, I can already tell the difference in my kids' demeanor. They seem lighter. They seem more themselves. They seem happier. I mean, they'll still grumble about the home, the
Yeah.
homework or the usual things. They'll grumble about this teacher or that class, but I can tell that they're happier, they're lighter. So
And they
yeah,
have their routine back.
and the routine, the structure. You're right. Structure is so
We are
important.
social human beings. We need contact with other people, but we also need structure. Children in particular thrive on structure. And we see that playing out in the greater community. And I don't mean by that Santa Clarita, I mean the greater population. When we see these temper tantrums, I call them, where you see adults. I saw a clip where somebody was acting out in an airport, throwing things. I'm like, this is a grown up having a temper tantrum, pure and simple. And so when I see that kind of behaviors, in my field we call that anger management. Obviously, he has some anger management issues, but I would speculate that at the root of the anger management issues, obviously that's his way of managing uncomfortable feelings. But
Fear,
but
anxiety.
it's fear.
Hmm.
He doesn't know what's going to happen next. He thinks that if only he could take charge physically, that he can somehow manage the situation and get what he wants, whatever that was.
And we've all done things to get through this past year and a half, adults included. Some people smoked more marijuana than usual. Some people slept, watched more, whatever that your,
Hmm.
particular, you ate more. I think I did all of these, many, many different things to sort of get through. And now that it feels like we're sort of at the end of this chapter somehow, a little bit. Um, I mean, I was just having this conversation with my wife last night, just how, okay, we need to now say that that chapter is over, and let's let's readjust. Even with the given anxieties that we're having, it's time to now reapply ourselves and sort of, set the reset button a little bit. So anyhow, let's get back to that initial question of how anxiety sort of goes from what you would consider normal to being a mental illness. Like, how do I know if I've entered that
Well, we look at,
area?
as a clinician, we look at how long have you been feeling this way? What have you tried to do to manage this? And has this become your default, to use computer speak? Is this becoming your Windows 98, that every time something happens, no matter what it is, you go into, oh my God, the sky is falling? So, that's sort of the extreme. And when we see people that have this kind of default, that's their method of engaging with the world, to say, oh, the worst is going to happen. Then you can see how that can graduate into other forms of dysfunction. We had a lady who had always been very, very capable, and she became almost unable to leave her house because she became so afraid. And what was she afraid of? Well, she wasn't really quite sure, but she was absolutely certain that by the way, this is pre-COVID. So, it's not like now where people are afraid to go out without a mask because there's literally bad stuff in the air, and not just the pollen, potentially. So she became just unable to function in any of her previous capacities. And really, her husband was the one who brought her in and said, I don't know what to do to help her. I'm cooking dinner, I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm doing all these things when I come home from work, but she's just not able to take our daughter to school anymore. I don't know what to do. And over time, I'm happy to report, she is not only functioning now, she is too busy for us to, I have to make an appointment with her. She's so busy.
Well, that's
And
good.
she
That's
resumed
good
all of her
news.
previous skills and then some. So that's the other piece I want to just put out there about mental health treatment. You don't need to be extreme in order to ask for help. In fact, it's preferable if you don't, because does it make sense that if we can prevent a person from going really far downhill, it's a lot easier to get them back up than if they get all the way down, 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 down.
Well, that's
Now
a
we
great
have
point.
to really drag, it's a much heavier lift.
Prevention is a much better policy. That's not what the health care
That's right.
industry is built on.
That's right.
It's built on
We would like it to be built
yes.
on prevention. And some of that, without getting political, some of that is politically driven. So whether or not you engage at the unfortunate thing is that the money has to be there. Some money. I don't know about how much money and all that. I'm not a budget person, so. But we had a great number of preventive programs, I want to say in the late 60s and the 70s, and they all sort of went away in the 80s, and then by the 90s practically nothing was left, which is how we got to where we were doing mental health only sort of in emergency situations. And I want to say I mean now here in Santa Clarita and the state of California, the largest treatment facility for acute mental health became our central jail. And I would argue that there is not a single law enforcement person that became a law enforcement person so that they could be work with people that have mental
It's
illness.
become a big burden on.
Yeah, it's a burden on them. It's completely inappropriate, just as it's inappropriate for me to try to take down some bad guy. I'm a social worker. I didn't take judo or any of that training. That's just not my.
It's a funny image, though.
Yeah, it's 75.
Imagining you.
So, this is one thing that I was on a program one time in a community with a different community with one of the panelists was Sheriff Baca, who was at the time he was in charge of the whole sheriff's department. And I said, this is one thing that Sheriff Baca and I absolutely agree on is that law enforcement should not be the go-to. Do they have a role? Absolutely. I've gone out on calls when I was an employee, and by golly, I was very relieved to be able to call for police backup, and they would come. And I knew just knowing that they would come made me feel safer.
So whether we're talking about prevention, getting in front of this sort of thing, if you're starting to feel like you're going down this path, or whether you're already there, it's imperative to reach out to someone like you. I'm speaking with Barbara Wilson here, 50 years as a clinical social worker, and we're encouraging folks to call in today, 661-298-5487. If you have a question, you can speak anonymously. You don't need to give your name, and she's here to help. Mental health hookup. This is your mental health hookup today here. I'm Jason Downs. We'll be back in just a moment to talk more with Barbara Wilson about mothers who are leaving the workforce, how it's impacting their marriages, etc. during this time. So stay with us right here on KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Your business sign is essential to getting customers to your location. Feathers can help you get your business noticed. Feathers, now in a new larger space with plenty of parking. They walk you through each phase of your project with special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will provide you a sign that you can be proud of. Your sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Visit Feathers online at feathersigns.com or go to Feathers' brand new bigger location at 26017 Huntington Drive off Rye Canyon or call 298-9442.
This is Jill from the Santa Clarita Grocery, the all-volunteer grocery program serving children, families, and individuals experiencing food insecurities. Since January 2020, Santa Clarita Grocery has distributed 83 tons of fresh groceries to our 4,655 families in the SCV community. Santa Clarita Grocery is a drive-up, drive-through service with physical distancing in place to continue serving our community. If you are in need or looking for a charity to do the most good for our community, please consider partnering with us by donating to Santa Clarita Grocery, one of the most efficient charities in the Santa Clarita Valley. A full 99 cents out of every dollar goes directly back to the community. Santa Clarita Grocery operates on a 1% overhead and is sustained through private donations. Santa Clarita Grocery is at 21176 Center Point Parkway in the Oasis Furniture parking lot. Please visit our website at santaclaritagrocery.org or our Facebook at Santa Clarita Grocery to make a difference in our awesome town community. 425-7575. Be our guest and experience the difference.
The San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is inviting everyone to bring their smile to the San Diego Zoo and the San Diego Zoo Safari for amazing outdoor experiences. Guests will have the opportunity to see amazing wildlife up close, enjoy wondrous entertainment after dark at the San Diego Zoo, or journey through the wild and wondrous terrain at the Safari Park. A visit to the zoo must begin with a stop at the newly opened Komodo Kingdom, home to a pair of the world's largest lizards, Komodo dragons. A few steps to the habitat next door, an immersive aviary modeled after a cenote bursting with tropical plant life and buzzing with numerous eye-catching species of hummingbirds and other winged beauties. From almost anywhere in the safari park, you can hear it, a roar that strikes deep in your chest. At Lion Camp, you can come eye to eye with these magnificent predators, equally impressive whether indulging in a cat nap or strutting around their kingdom. Stop into one of the Safari Park's retail stores. Your purchases help support our conservation work worldwide. Learn more at stzwa.org.
When was the last time you had a business insurance checkup? That long, eh? It's most likely Glenn Terry time for you and your business. Glenn Terry has been a Santa Clarita resident since 1980 and has deep roots in the community. 22 years in the insurance industry, a trusted commercial insurance specialist with LBW, licensed in 50 states. There's nobody I'd trust more. Call Glenn Terry today and set up your free business insurance checkup at 661-702-6005. Glenn Terry sticks to the mission, not the co-mission. Yeehaw!
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your Mental Health Hookup Hour with Barbara Wilson and myself, Jason Downs, your host. This is a special broadcast here at KHTS, your hometown station, because mental health is important to us, and we believe it should be important to everyone in Santa Clarita. Mental Health Hookup is dedicated to providing clinical support to families affected by serious mental illness in Santa Clarita and beyond. They offer help and they offer healing. We have Barbara Wilson with us here today, who is at the heart and soul of Mental Health Hookup. She has her practice that she's been a clinical social worker for 50 years and has helped countless people over the years. And she's here to answer any of your questions here in the studio today by calling 661-298-5487. You can also reach her at mentalhealthhookup.org. So a pleasure to have you, as always, Barbara. So we've been talking about anxiety. We've been talking about, I guess, all the things that are happening in the world right now surrounding the pandemic, going back to school for our kids. You also mentioned something about mothers leaving the workforce and how that's impacting their lives and perhaps their marriages. And I'd love to hear more about what you're hearing and experiencing from some of your clients.
Sure. And again, thank you for creating this, what I call sacred space, for people to get honest without necessarily revealing who they are. I know there's people that in your audience that are experiencing anxiety, maybe might be experiencing some marital stress because now we have competition for resources within the family. If we have mom working from home, dad working from home, the kids utilizing Zoom for classwork or whatever, I call it all Zoom. So now you have maybe 4 or 5 people all competing kind of in the same band of time. So like I was talking to one mother, she was actually communicating to me on Zoom from the garage, and she's the mom, but the kids informed her she was making too much noise for them because they needed absolute quiet to take a test on their Zoom classroom. So there's that kind of competition for resources, and that one resource is peace and quiet. Okay. So there's so much going on, and along with that, one of the things I'm seeing is mothers, much more than fathers. Not saying that fathers don't go through this as well, but I'm seeing, more mothers, even mothers that are professionally trained, that may be fairly high up in the food chain of their organization, feeling like they must come home and attend to their children, that there's no other resource that is reliable, that is also trustworthy, available to them. And so this is of concern, not only from an individual perspective, but I'm reading that this is a phenomenon nationwide now, that we have huge numbers of professionally trained women, which is not to say that only professionally trained women are important. I don't mean to imply that, because all women are important and all mothers are important. That is a thankless job. Once in a year, you maybe get some burnt pancakes saying, "We love you, Mom," but
No, it's still a very important job.
but here's a job that
it's-
women never get off. You don't get a day off. You don't work 8 hours. Many of these women are going to work, doing a job from home, and then simultaneously trying to juggle meal preparation and supervising homework and answering questions about the school, and and when does it stop? And some of them actually, if there are several children in the family, multiple children in the family, they're tending to, when you have a classroom as a teacher, you have, say, 30 kids. I don't know what the magic number is, maybe 25 kids, but they're all in the 2nd grade or they're all in the 5th grade or whatever. But no, when you're at home, you've got one in the 5th grade, one in the 2nd grade, and maybe one that's would normally be in preschool. And now they're all competing for your eyeballs at the same time. And so they're amping up their crisis so that you'll attend to them. And at the same time, you have your boss talking to you. And you're trying to act professional and look professional.
You're
and-
stressing me out just just painting this picture.
Okay, so this is the reality that many of these women are living. And add on to that, some of them are also providing care for an aging parent. So aging parent now needs extra attention during this crisis, maybe having to move into that home, or they're in their own home and now they've got to schlep back and forth to go see about mom, take her to the doctor, or take her to get her chemo or whatever. So there's a lot of stress going on. And sometimes this affects marriages because, people can get accused of being asexual or you're not interested in me anymore. And she's like, I'm just so tired. What sex? I just need to sleep. So there's a disconnect, or it can be a disconnect there. So it's very high stress, very, very high stress. And so many women are deciding, I can't do it all. I'm coming home.
So could we potentially say that now that kids are going back to school now, it would be the perfect opportunity for these mothers to seek help? Because there might be a little bit more time to...
Some are trying to seek help, and therein comes that uncertainty again. If I had a lady reach out to me, and then she had to stop because she actually was not sure when she could book an appointment because of the kids' appointments and her job demands, and she's trying to juggle all of these
You provide
different...
sessions on Zoom and,
we
and
do,
on the phone.
we do.
And okay.
So the issue was not whether to do a Zoom call, although she was requesting something in person because the kids are such a distraction that it's hard for her to get
that's a good
through
point.
a session.
Good
They're
point.
crawling over her and asking for extra goodies, and she's trying to...
It's also important that it be their time too.
Yes.
They,
So, no, her dilemma was, I just don't, I'm so overwhelmed right now. I cannot even attend to myself enough to make an appointment.
wow.
And this is a woman that's very highly educated. So again, I point that out, not because she's better than everybody else, but simply because the stress, if it's that high for her, I wonder what it's like for people that don't have her credentials, don't have her backup. She's married. This lady had, so this is an
Well,
intact
and it's
family.
all relative too. I mean, it does. You can't compare yourself and to someone else's situation.
But imagine if it was a single mom. And this woman is married and has a husband that can kind of back her up a little bit. What if it's a single mom? So, those are the things I think about. Is like, oh, if she's going through this at this level of stress, what must a single mom who maybe has 2 kids, 3 kids, what about women who cannot afford to quit work? Or their kids won't have food to eat? So they must send their kids back to school. But are they feeling that that's a safe thing to do? I talked to one mother who, she does something in a medical office. She's but she's not the doctor, so she's not getting the big bucks. And she's worried all the time. She says, I don't know what to do. Do I send them to school? I need them to go to school. They're falling behind. But quitting her job and coming home to take care of the kids is not an option. They won't have a place to live if she does that. So... again, it's the anxiety of not knowing.
So, you specialize in helping adults with serious mental illness. What is the most common form of mental illness that you come in contact with? I mean, is there... Because I guess to my mind, to the layman's mind, it might be someone who's dealing with schizophrenia, but what is the most common?
Single most common form of mental illness in America consistently for many, many years has been major depression.
Well, just depression. Well, not
Yeah.
just not. I don't mean to minimize it, but Okay, okay.
That is our number one. We lose more income nationwide, more hours of lost work to major depression.
I've just been told that we have a caller. Can you hear us on the line there?
Yes, I can.
How do you do? You can choose to share your name, or you can not. We have Barbara Wilson here to answer any questions you may have. So pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you. I am just so intrigued with this conversation because you really just described my situation. Background for me, I am a single mother of a boy child, and I have been doing everything. And I found that I'm so afraid of everything now. Before my child, I just had, me to worry about. With the child, he's grown now, but throughout my whole, existence of having him, I've learned so much. There's so much fear because of depression, because of trying to make everything happen, because every time you try to do something and then it doesn't go right or it does go right, you feel a sense of, I didn't do enough. I didn't have the support that I needed, so I had to call on other people. Sometimes they came through, sometimes they didn't. There were so many things that I couldn't do because I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have the foresight. I didn't have the wherewithal. And it just becomes so much, and it's overwhelming when you are one person doing, I can see now, you're one person doing the job that it takes a village to do.
Hmm.
And it is overwhelming to the point where
how old is how old is your son?
my son just turned 21.
Okay, and are you working as well, and he's still living with you?
He is still living with me. I am working the whole time that he was coming up. I did work, but I worked where I could be in his presence because of whatever may have happened. So therefore, I could not be in. I didn't want to be 6 miles, too late to get to somebody. If something ever went on or things happened, because once you have a kid, you realize that people don't always care about your kid like you do. I got him involved in sports. I got him involved in different activities and different things that we were doing. But as one person, there was no way that I could have him involved in all the things that I tried and be attentive to him as well.
And what are you doing for yourself? Have you?
I had no self. I'm just putting it this way. I had no self. My entire life evolved around making sure my child had what he needed because it was only me. I had no one to turn to.
Well, let's hear what Barbara has to say or ask. Go ahead.
Well, no, I thank you for calling in, first of all. It takes a lot of courage to call. And I want to say to a tried and trite statement, and I don't mean it to be trite, but I do feel your pain. The being the only one, and the responsibility. And in our culture, we have a history of blaming mothers as well, that whatever happens to the kid, if something goes wrong, it was the mother's fault. The mother didn't do this right, so, should have breastfed, should not have breastfed, should have bottle fed. And this is why I work a lot with people that have families that have been affected by a loved one's serious mental illness because of the guilt. That becomes the default. And there's no rest from the guilt. And so I can hear that you are trying to do the best you can. but I also hear that you're confused about what is the best.
I'm confused, not about what is the best. I have an idea of what the best should be, but at this point, I have a lot of guilt because I feel like I should have. I didn't. I didn't get this done. I should have been able to do that. If this wasn't my situation, I would have been able to do, and he would have had better. My son is good. Don't get me wrong. I have he's smart. He's good. He doesn't even know how much I struggled because I never did share that with him. He didn't know we were broke all the time. He thought we were okay, but he doesn't know all that I went through because I was so busy trying to make sure that he didn't come up with a lack mentality. I wanted to make sure that he came up as healthy as he could, but he did not have the support that could have been.
We're going to take a quick break, but I hope you'll stay for just another moment on the phone, and we can talk about perhaps what you might need when we come back.
Thank you.
So stay with us right here. This is your Mental Health Hookup with Barbara Wilson and myself, Jason Downs. You're listening to KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet? One drug after another, continuing numbness, tingling, burning pain, balance problems, decreased quality of life? Are you experimenting with drugs like Lyrica, Neurontin, gabapentin, Cymbalta with limited success and your doctor telling you just have to live with it? My name is Dr. Thomas Pilecki, DC, host of Get Better with Dr. Pilecki and founder of Neuropathy Dr. X. I'm here to tell you that there is now a non-invasive natural solution to your neuropathy right here in Santa Clarita, a solution that addresses the underlying causes, and we're proud to say that we have an 87 to 97% success rate with neuropathy sufferers in getting their lives back. I'd like to invite you to our next seminar, when we'll teach you how to reverse this deadly condition that affects over 50 million Americans today. To reserve your spot now, call 753-9340. This is a free seminar, but seating is limited, so call 753-9340 now.
Time for a car wash, but fearful of the scratches that go along with it? Canny Car Wash and Valencia Car Wash proudly use 100% lamb's cloth to prevent scratches and provide the best wash possible. Both locations use environmentally friendly solutions to wash and wax your vehicle, and they both accept all other car wash coupons. Give your vehicle the wash it deserves. Visit Canny Car Wash on Soledad across from Edwards Cinema, or Valencia Car Wash on Creekside Road behind Target.
When was the last time you had a business insurance checkup? That long, eh? It's most likely Glenn Terry time for you and your business. Glenn Terry has been a Santa Clarita resident since 1980 and has deep roots in the community. 22 years in the insurance industry, a trusted commercial insurance specialist with LBW, licensed in 50 states. There's nobody I'd trust more. Call Glenn Terry today and set up your free business insurance checkup at 661-702-6005. Glenn Terry sticks to the mission, not the co-mission. Yeehaw!
If you want to take advantage of today's record prices and sell your house fast without having to pay those crazy real estate commissions, listen to this. David Bartels here with Everhome Realty. Sell your home for under $4,000 and get full service, expert representation, and a 5-star experience from one of America's top 100 real estate agents. We guarantee great results. Call now, 661-403-4077, 661-403-4077, or go to everhome.io to learn more.
Loss of hearing can affect the quality of life. Santa Clarita Hearing Center can help. They specialize in both preventative hearing loss and corrective measures, including diagnostic tests, new technology hearing aids, cochlear implants, hearing protection, and tinnitus treatment. They can adjust your current hearing aids or fit you for new ones. Santa Clarita Hearing Center also offers sleep molds, swim molds, and musician monitors. Book an appointment today. Log on to SantaClaritaHearingCenter.com, located on McBean Parkway next to the hospital. That's SantaClaritaHearingCenter.com.
I listen to it all day, every day.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. Welcome. This is Mental Health Hookup with Barbara Wilson. I'm your host, Jason Downs. This is a special broadcast here at KHTS, your hometown station, because mental health is important to us, and we believe it should be important to everyone here in Santa Clarita. Mental Health Hookup is a nonprofit here in Santa Clarita dedicated to providing clinical support to families affected by serious mental illness. They specialize in adults who are dealing with mental illness. They specialize in families with a family member with serious mental illness. And we have Barbara Wilson here, who has been a clinical social worker for 50 years. And we've been speaking with a caller on the line, and she's been sharing with us some struggles that she has had as a single parent. So again, we're so thankful to have you here, and we'd love to continue the conversation and allow you to share what you think you might need for your mental health and how Barbara could potentially help you.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
I would also like to add, if I could, if there's any more. I have been told that, somebody told me, and they keep saying this is how they keep trying to console me. It speaks to, great parents raise, how did they say it? Sorry parents have great kids, and great parents have sorry kids. And they keep saying that, not that you are a good parent or not that you're a bad parent, but there are situations and things that go on because you do so much, you handicap the kid. And I'm saying I did, as was stated, I did what I felt I had to do, but everything was on my shoulders. So to be judged by family, by friends, one, how could you have chosen this man? How could this have been the case? You did this on your own. I fought every inch of my son's life for my son's benefit. And while I had no life in the middle, I was always trying to make sure that my son had what he needed. He had, and it sounds like, oh, wow, great parenting. But in the end, what it does is, for me, I have a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of fear. I have, it's like there's a lot of things I want to do, but I can't do. I feel like it's all my fault, all my responsibility. What do you do? What do you do?
So what would you say to our caller, Barbara?
Well, I really want to thank you for sharing those feelings on the air. I know it's not easy to dig that deep. And I think that you put words to feelings that a lot of people listening to this show also are feeling and didn't have the courage to call in. And so I want to just congratulate you for taking the plunge, because many people, when they hear the phrase mental health, that ends the conversation. It doesn't begin a conversation. And so, several things come through my mind. First of all, you mentioned the huge level of responsibility that you feel on your shoulders and your shoulders alone, and the judgmental comments made to you. And I'm going to assume that some of these comments were made to you by people that are important to you, because if they were made to you by people that didn't matter to you, you would not remember them as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that these were really impactful because of the nature of the relationship you have with those people.
I'll say this one. One of these comments were sometimes so intense and so bad that it was like so often so bad, and it was almost brainwashing to where the intent was to make me ashamed of my child.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with my child, but I should have been ashamed. I mean, I got one comment that was, this is just one, in a group of other people, friends, it was stated, she's the only one in the entire family to have ever had a child out of wedlock.
Ah.
And I'm like, who? I mean, my memory serves. I can think of some other people, but this was sad. I mean, it's just the kind of intensity, and it was the ugly, the things that I had, and I had to seek out. I was in school. I found a very good friend that helped me while I was in school. But the thing is that was only one person but she didn't live near me, but she did help. But it was still, everything was riding my shoulder. I had to make sure that everything was done.
So let me ask you this: would it help you? Would it be beneficial to you if you had a safe space to speak to someone like Barbara? I'm just putting it out there. I mean,
Sure.
Have you ever tried that before? Have you ever spoken to a therapist?
You know what? I'll tell you like this. I have not, because I haven't had the ability to really even grasp. This is like, now that my son he just turned 21. At this point, I'm just not able to really articulate all of the emotions, everything, because all of the things that have been sitting on top of me, I'm just now beginning to be able to understand and articulate them, because before it was just go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do. So he's a little bit more self-sufficient now. I don't have to got to do everything. So I'm just now coming to a place where I can even verbalize.
Or focus on yourself for a little while.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Now, I'm still worried about, because he's in college, and I'm still worried about things there. But
Sure.
Because you have to be a success. You have to. I put so much pressure on my son, I'm making him sick. You have to be. You have to. And it's like, I've been so ingrained to think and believe I'm a failure, which I'm not. I mean, I'm a college graduate. I have mega skills, but I don't do anything with them because I've honed in on my child.
All right, we need to say farewell for today because we're out of time.
But yes, it would be good if I can talk to somebody like Barbara. I think at this point, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that you can reach out to her at 661-799-7994. You can reach her there. You can also make an appointment at mentalhealthhookup.org. And I'd love for you guys to get to speak more, because it sounds like the perfect time for you in your life, and potentially even your son if he's been traumatized by some of these things. So we so appreciate you calling in, and Barbara, I so appreciate what you do, and I so appreciate what Mental Health Hookup is doing here in Santa Clarita and beyond, specializing in helping adults who are struggling with mental health. Really, the best resource in Santa Clarita, mentalhealthhookup.org. Please reach out to them, 661-799-7994, for all your mental health needs. If they cannot provide what you need, they will hook you up with someone who can. mentalhealthhookup.org, 661-799-7994. So, Barbara, thank you once again, and here's to a beautiful day, a beautiful week.
Well, I thank you so much for having this space where we could address some of these problems. And to the caller, I hope that I wanted to get to hear from you. How have you been able to survive 21 years of this lack of support? What tools did you use to make it through this far? So I'm anxious to hear about those things.
Please follow up. So you're listening to KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.